I'm multitasking.
Good morning. And yes, it is a great morning. It's September 8th, 2021, and no, you'll this is a very, very important day, as you've probably guessed by looking at me. It is time for the John Lavenia Success Mastermind. I'm your guy for this morning, Glen Henderson, and we are so glad to see you. Let's have a little housekeeping right off the bat, shall we? Let's see. What's going on today? What's on the calendar today? Well, right now you're in the middle of at the beginning of the general session. And then later on today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Life and Business Tools, our good friend Adrian Garner. So we have that to look forward to. And today, I've been looking forward to today. By the way, hello, Daisy. Nice to see you. And Linda Landry is here. And of course, the man himself, Mr. Lavenia, is with us. Good to see you, my friend. Always good. And as you just reminded me, in about a month's time, we're going to be getting together out in somewhere in the middle of the desert Southwest, meeting up with a number of our mastermind friends and having ourselves a little fun out in Nevada. So we'll be definitely looking forward to that. Edward, good morning, my friend. Nice to see you. John, what's up?
I just wanted to offer a little correction. We have no life and business tools today, but we do have the reinstatement of Books for Britain with Mandy Anderson at 8 p.m. British summertime.
Beautiful, 8 p.m. British summertime, Books for Britain with our good friend Mandy Anderson, and we shall be seeing Professor Garner in the near future. You have probably guessed by now that it is a very big day for me. Today is September 8th, 1966, and today is September 8th, 2021. It's the 55th anniversary of September 8th, 1960. Do you know, by a show of hands, anybody know what happened, what's important about the date, September 8th, 1966? Well, I shall tell you. On Friday, September 8th, 1966, the NBC network here in the US of A premiered the very first episode of Star Trek. So today is the 55th anniversary of the appearance of the greatest science fiction, the greatest sci-fi franchise of all time. And it was the beginning of a phenomenon and a movement that quite literally changed my life. As you know, I took lessons from day one of seeing Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock and all the other aliens and humans on the TV screen, flying through space, traveling to new worlds, meeting all sorts of interesting people, and adventures that I had never heard of that somehow managed to seep into a little kid's head and change his view of the world. Some of you also know, I'm looking around because I'm about to grab a couple of... Hey, have I ever shown you some of the pictures from the fun thing that I did last month, Paul and I? Did I show you? Did I show you any pictures? I may get to that in just a minute. I'll drop off a couple, but here's why I'm mentioning any and all of this today. As you also know about me, I am a great believer that there are lessons and practices for life to be found on the TV screen and to be found in the adventures, beginning with those original Star Trek cast members. I'm thinking of 3 today particularly, and I want to chat about those. You know, you have moments in your life. Every one of us has moments in our lives where if someone were to ask us, we could tell them exactly where we were and exactly what we were doing at the time that this important moment happened. I can tell you exactly where I was on September 8th, 1966. I was running out of my family's kitchen after dinner, jumping across the dining room and sliding, I kid you not, sliding across the dining room floor. I had been practicing this for other things, but I slid across the dining room floor and came to a stop right in front of the TV. We had one of those great big old, I don't remember, what was it? Was it a General Electric maybe? One of those great big console TVs. And right there, because I had heard about this show that was coming, Star Trek. And for some reason, I was fascinated even before, see what I did there? It was fascinating to me. I was fascinated even before I'd seen the very first scene of the very first episode. Interestingly enough, none of the other members of my family were all that interested in sci-fi or science fiction shows. I think they may have thought that the whole idea was kind of silly. Yeah, it's fine. No, that's okay. I didn't really care. I was transfixed from the very first moment. I was transfixed. So that's where I was on September 8th of 66. Now I realize that on September 8th, 1966, some of y'all wasn't even a twinkle in your daddy's eye, as the old saying used to go. But my life's changed beginning with that day. Tell you how, and here's where we get to it. And I learned, among many other things, three very important lessons from those early days of the first series and the first films, Star Trek films, and The Next Generation, and so many of the other Star Trek franchises. Among the many things I learned are these. Number one, it's going to get better. What am I talking about? Nowadays, and it's been the same right throughout human history, hasn't it? Right throughout the history of civilization, there have always been the purveyors of doom and gloom. Oh, it's all going to heck in a handbasket. Oh, we're all going to die. Oh, it's all falling apart. Oh, my goodness, where are the good people? Everything's wrong. Everything's going away. All the things that we counted on, they're all disappearing, and it's all going to be terrible. And what are we going to do? We can't trust anyone anymore. Right? You haven't heard any of this, have you? At any point in your life? There has always been a fear, and it's been trumpeted from political rostrums. It's been argued about in bars. It's been preached from pulpits that it's all going bad. We're all on the way down. We're all on the way out. Humanity's going to completely destroy itself, and what's all going to be. You can see it, some of this, in some of the other science fiction franchises that are popular and have been popular over the years. So many of them, if you look, portray a dark, bleak, blown up, filthy, dystopian hellhole of an existence where mankind has destroyed himself in some sort of cataclysm, or the zombies have taken over, or everything we knew and loved has collapsed and it's all chaos, and the only reason we are still alive is to try to survive, to try to live, to try to find some reason to keep going. You know what I mean? You've seen some of these, I won't name names, but you've seen some of these TV shows and movies and things. And yeah, in real life, there are many people talking this way. And the thing that I learned from watching, more images on a TV screen, I'll admit that. Note, here's a hot news flash. Captain James T. Kirk is not a real guy. He's a fictional character, and I am well aware of this. Here's what I learned, though, from a fictional character and a fictional scenario and a fictional spaceship in a fictional universe. You know what I learned from all this fiction? There's hope for all of us. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, specifically intended this show that he referred to as a wagon train to the stars. He intended for Star Trek to communicate the message that mankind, that humanity is improving. That there's a chance for humanity to improve, to grow, to evolve, to at some point finally put aside hatred and bigotry and war and disease and hunger, and through the power of technology and through the power of connection and teamwork, to make ourselves better, to make each other better, and to help make the world a better place. Now, what possible message could be more inspiring and more apropos, I might say, of even our modern times today? Gene Roddenberry said it. We're going to get better. Humanity's going to get better. Times are going to get better. We're going to figure this thing out. And when we do, notice, see what I did there? When we do, we are going to then be empowered to turn our sights, to turn our vision as one human race to the stars. Whew, got me excited as a kid. Second lesson I learned. Oh, and this is a good one. Everything is impossible until it's not. As a matter of fact, I saw that exact statement. I heard those exact words on a recent binge watch that I was doing of the second TV series, Star Trek: The Next Generation. You can probably guess I'm working on the second book. I've started working on the second book now, and what's really cool about that is that it's basically an excuse to watch lots and lots of TV. Because, hey, it's research. Leave me alone. So, I was watching an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and Captain Jean-Luc Picard had given an order from the bridge, in a perilous situation, of course, for the bridge crew to find a way to create a certain state of propulsion with the ship's engines. And he was told, sir, oh, we can't do that. That's impossible. The laws of physics, it can't be done. And Captain Picard almost lost his temper. And he said to his crew very, very sharply, he said, everything is impossible. All things are always impossible until they are not. So, and by the way, they were able to do the thing and create the engine situation, resolve the engine situation, and of course the ship was saved. Naturally, the ship was saved. So what's the lesson for us? I'm going to issue an order as the captain. You may consider this a direct order. I don't ever want to hear uttered by any member of the John Lavinia Success Mastermind the word impossible. Why? Because as we know, particularly given our modern times and as we've seen things advance and grow in technology and companies and technologies and whole industries that didn't exist 20 years ago. Look back 25 years ago. Had anyone even heard of the internet? The what? Okay, we can argue about the year, how many years ago it was. There was a time when the internet, you believe this? There was a time when the internet did not exist. Actually, that's not precisely accurate. There was a time some years ago when the thing which we now call the internet was considered impossible. You catch the subtlety there? It was considered impossible. And then one person, depending on which account of the history of the internet you subscribe to, one person said, hey, you know what? What if we built a way for people to get access to information through their computer? But the information doesn't live on their computers, it's in other places. But we can set it up in such a way that people can get access to that information and then they can exchange that information with each other and preserve it and for future generations. And so, that idea at one point was considered impossible. And then it wasn't. So take a look, have a pause right now. Take a look at some purpose that you mean to accomplish in your life. Some desired future outcome, as our friend John likes to call it, a desired outcome in your life, in your business, that at the present time seems extremely difficult, seems indeed, maybe it even seems impossible for you to achieve it. Well, guess what? The internet was once considered impossible. Space flight was once considered. Flying through the air for a human being was once considered impossible. Television it didn't exist, once considered impossible. Couldn't be done. You know what else was once considered impossible? The 8-cylinder engine. I love this story. Absolutely love this story. Henry Ford, who essentially created the modern automobile industry by coming up with the idea of construction and assembly of automobiles on an assembly line. He went to his engineers one day. He got the idea because all engines up until that time had either 4 or 6 cylinders. And I absolutely know that I'm veering into an area of John's expertise, and he's going to jump in here and punch me in the face at any point, and I fully expect it, and I'll probably deserve it. But Henry Ford had the idea to build an 8-cylinder engine out of a single block of steel. And he went to his engineers and he told them that's what he wanted. And they said, Mr. Ford, that's impossible. It can't be done. There's no material strong enough to withstand the pressure. And he said, just do it. So they went to work. If they wanted to keep their jobs, they went to work. And they worked, and they sweated, and they drew up designs, and they tested, and things blew up, and they just couldn't figure it out. They went back to him and said, Mr. Ford, we've tried, we've done the best we could, we can't do it. It's impossible. This engine that you want out of a single block of metal, it's impossible. It's impossible. It can't be done. He says, never mind, I want it, and I'll have it. Go back to work. They wanted to keep their jobs, so they went back to work. And they worked months and months. They worked at this. They struggled. All-nighters, working for hours, days on end. Went back to Mr. Ford. We can't. Don't you understand? We've looked at all the engineering principles, the physical principles. It's impossible. It can't be done. He says, I want my engine, and I will have my engine. Do it. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what it costs. I want my engine. Go back and keep working until you do it. So what are you going to do? You're going to argue with Henry Ford? So they went back to work. And they rolled up their sleeves again, and they worked, and they worked, and they struggled, and they stayed up, and they worked for days and weeks and more months on end, and suddenly, as if by magic, they did it. The 8-cylinder engine, forged from a single block of metal, was impossible until it wasn't. So, there is nothing in your life. I'm about to make a bold statement, and I'm doing it on purpose. There's nothing in your life that's impossible. Nothing. Nothing you wish to do that is impossible. A couple of friends of mine volunteered at a triathlon this past weekend. And I don't know, several hundred participants. It was a really great, inspiring event. And one of the most inspiring stories to come out of that event was that of a young lady who had somehow contracted a terrible degenerative bone disease of some sort. And this disease was so virulent and so devastating that gangrene in her body, that gangrene set in, and she proceeded to lose, through disease and gangrene and amputation, ultimately amputation. She lost both of her legs and one of her arms. Terrible. Right? Terrible. She ran the triathlon and finished. No legs, one arm. I'm sorry. What was it? What was it you were saying? Thing in your life that is impossible? I'm sorry. What was that again? What was your excuse again? Listen, I'm not trying to get mad or beat anybody up here. What I'm saying is, whatever it is you mean to accomplish in your life, it looks impossible. May be impossible until it's not. So, why not look at it that way from the beginning? This thing isn't impossible. This thing is doable. I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure it out. I heard a quote one time said that all things are possible. The impossible just takes a little longer. So maybe it's a little more time. Maybe it's a little more work. Maybe it's a little coaching, a little guidance, a little course correction from someone that you trust. It's possible. Now go achieve it. Go do it. And the third lesson that I learned from those early days in Star Trek is that we're all on the same mission. We are all on the same mission. The same quest, the same trek, if you like. See what I did there? Trek. I have seen it demonstrated and talked about in several episodes of Trek and several films. One of the best places that I saw it was in one of the Star Trek Next Generation films called Star Trek First Contact. This talked about the theme of this film. The subject of the film was Starfleet's ultimate confrontation with the Borg. Who are the Borg? We'll talk about that later. Captain Picard is going through the ship, trying to formulate a strategy to defeat this lethal enemy, the Borg. And he's leading someone with him, someone who really doesn't understand what's going on. She's from 20th century or 21st century Earth. She really doesn't get this whole space travel, Borg, what thing? Borg? Sounds Swedish, she says. Yeah, well, this person asks Picard as they're walking through the ship, and he's telling her about the ship and everything. And she says, how much does this thing cost? How much did this thing cost? The ship, the Enterprise. And he says, the economics of the future are somewhat different. You see, money doesn't exist in the 24th century. No money, she says? You mean you don't get paid? And Picard says something extremely profound, which I found to be extremely profound. Now, before I say this, before I share this quote with you, I will preface it by saying, I have no problem in the world with money. I have no problem in the world. I am all for every last one of us, as a friend John likes to say, going out and making a complete spectacle of ourselves, making so much. I want you to make so much money that your friends don't even want to talk to you anymore. At least not about money. You understand what I'm saying. I want you to make so much money that money becomes no longer an issue in your life. I want you to be in a position where you can make decisions based on what is best for you and those you care about, not based on what you can afford. By the way, that is my definition of wealth. The ability to make decisions based on what's best for you and for those you care about, not based on what you can afford. Wealth. And whatever number, whatever amount of money gets you there, you're wealthy. Now, having said that, Captain Picard says to this person in response to this question, what, you don't get paid? He says, the acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity. Now, even keeping in mind what I just said, what I just shared about my personal views of money and wealth, I want you to be fabulously wealthy. Absolutely. I want you to justly, honestly earn just as much money as you care to earn. And I want you to fully enjoy the fruits of your labor. But if you think about it, what do you really want in life? Do you really want money? Is that the driving force in your life? If it is, hey, that's your driving force. But really, what is it that drives you? Is it having a number? Is it being able to look and see a number in your bank account? Is it driving a certain type of car, living in a certain type of house? Maybe. And if so, great. Fantastic. Go for it. God bless you. Really, aren't we all looking for freedom? Peace of mind? Aren't we looking for that sense of security that comes from knowing that we're okay, that if something happens, we can handle it because we have the resources to deal with it? Isn't what we're really after the thing described by my favorite word in the whole of the English language? Aren't we all really after options? Now, if money will get you there, if money's the only thing that will get you there and making more money will get you, heck yeah, go for it. I do believe there comes a point in our lives, and I'm looking forward to being able to talk about this from personal experience, if you know what I mean. I've been told by people who have more money than 100 people could spend in a lifetime. I've been told this personally by people who, from a financial standpoint, are billionaires. I've been told that at a certain point in your life, money doesn't really matter anymore. And yes, it's easy for you to say, you got all the money in the world. I've heard people who don't have all the money in the world say that. What we're really after is that sense of peace, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of security, of options, of freedom, of that that feeling of confidence, that feeling of knowing, that knowingness. There you go again, John. That knowingness that every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And here's the beautiful thing about my life in Star Trek, which it really has been. Star Trek has been my life for 55 years. See, this is an aside. One of the beautiful things about what's been happening with me and for me the past few months, the past year, around Star Trek, is that I came to a point where I was no longer embarrassed to say that. Star Trek has been my life for 55 years. And out of that, I have learned and am learning that what we really want is that sense of growth, that sense of increase. Kaizen is the word the Japanese use to describe it. It means continuous improvement. Isn't that what you really want? To know that every day, in every way, you, your life, and the lives of those you care about are getting better and better and better and growing and improving. Well, guess what? You can start that process today. Take one action. Take one physical action today in the direction of what you desire most, in the direction of your goals, your dreams, your guaranteed future outcome, your vision. Take one step today. Take one action in service to your dream. Guess what? You're wealthy. Why? Because you are increasing. You are growing. Your life is getting better and better and better. I keep going back to, so quick review. Number one, it's going to get better. The world is going to be a better place. Number two, things are always impossible until they are not. Number three, we're all on the same quest. We're all on the same trek. Increase, growth. We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity. I keep coming back to the theme. The foundational philosophy, the core philosophy of Star Trek. And this isn't just talking about outer space. Trust me when I tell you. I've experienced it in my own life. I know many others have as well. What was Star Trek about from the very beginning? Space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Your Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission in the beginning. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds. How about the world in here? To seek out new life and new civilizations. To boldly go where no one has gone before. So my heartfelt, sincere recommendation and wish and hope for you, all of us, is that beginning today, we will, like it started in 66, make a decision and boldly go. I love this symbol, this salute, right? Live long and prosper. The one thing that I wish for all of us. Now then, what say you? What do you think? I watch these things and I glance at the camera. And you know what I learned? I learned something about Zoom calls, about doing Facebook Lives. You know what I learned? And when I tell you who I learned it from, you won't be surprised. Here's what I learned. When you're speaking in a live, on a Zoom or anything like this, always look at your camera, not at your screen. Now, see, I could look down here and I'm looking at Daisy and I'm talking. Feels to me like I'm talking to Daisy. Okay, and I'm looking over here. Hi, Emma. Nice to see you. Like I'm talking to, there's the money mama, Lindsay. I'm looking at Lindsay and I'm talking. But can you see my eyes? Does it really feel like I'm talking to you? Well, I don't know. Maybe. How about now? Who am I talking to? Who am I focusing on? Who's getting all of my attention right now? You are. You are, Lindsay. You are, Edward. Emma. I see you. I see you, Emma. So, looking in the camera. It's a cute little tech thing, a little how-to thing. You know who I learned that from? The Godzilla himself, Mr. John Lavinia. Yes, of course. Look into the camera. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think? Everybody has an opinion about Star Trek. I've known this for most of my life. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people are confused by it. Yeah, there are a few people, well, I never really thought about Star Trek. What do you think? What does it... Am I crazy with this whole thing about like life lessons from Star Trek and learning stuff about how to be successful and how to read? What in the world are you talking about, Glenn? What do you think? See, I'm kind of getting like John now, in that if somebody doesn't start talking, I'm just going to keep running my mouth and y'all just have to listen to me. But Lindsay has saved the day. What's happening, Money Mama? Lindsay, what's up?
Hey, I honestly have not ever given Star Trek much thought until I read your book. And there are lots of lessons from Star Trek that correlate. And these 3 points are really spot on.
Wow.
Something's impossible until it's not.
Everything is impossible.
Everything is impossible.
Until it's not.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I imagine what the person who said, we're going to put a man on the moon. I bet wonder what they looked at like. They probably had 3 heads.
I know.
Until it was done.
And then they did it. Hey, you know what? You just gave me a great idea, Lindsay. Can I show you something? I'll be right back.
Yep.
Don't go anywhere. I'm still here. Mm-hmm. Just ran across the room. I'll be back. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yes. I want to show you something. Things are impossible. Things are always impossible until they are not. You ever see any of the original episodes of the original series? Remember this thing? Remember this? Communicator. Okay, how much of a Trek geek am I? I actually own 2 of these. Is that insane or what? Now, it's impossible. 1966. Come on, man. Be able to communicate with space, communicate to space from a little thing that's not even as big as your hand. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. That's impossible. That'll never happen. Nobody's ever going to be able to. Any questions? Thank you, Lindsay. And by the way, that is probably the highest compliment that anyone could pay me in regard to the book. But you hear what Lindsay said? She said
really good.
She had never given Star Trek much thought at all until she read the book.
It's really good.
Kind of got me right here with that one. Or, in the case of my Vulcan friend, kind of here. Mandy Henderson, our good friend. What do you think?
Hi, Glenn. I was trying to log onto my PC. I was going to put my hand up. I didn't realize I'd put it up on the phone as well. So I'm on my phone. So I'm sorry you won't be able to see me today. I've always loved Star Trek. When I was younger, it was Doctor Who and Star Trek with James T. Kirk. And it was just, I love the stories you tell back because I remember some of them as well. I remember what you said. And when you were talking about the 5-year mission to bolding, that one, I was remembering the words to it. And it was like, it is inspirational the way they say that they're going out there to have this mission to, try all these new worlds. And that you can just go out there and find them and do it. And also the thing about being impossible, I've said this before about Alice in Wonderland and 6 impossible things before breakfast and all that sort of thing. And the other thing that came up for me as well was on psycho-cybernetics, he was talking about always moving forward, that we are a goal-seeking machine as such, and that we need to be having goals. We need to have things to move towards. If we haven't got something to move towards, then we're just going to stagnate or even go backwards. We have to have something to move forward. And I think that all of the things you were saying today was excellent. I loved it. I thought it was excellent. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mandy. Moving forward, always forward, always the course heading is always outward, farther away from home. Although Captain Picard once said, actually, somebody said to him, "You don't get home much, do you?" He says, "Actually, I tend to think of this ship as home." It's an interesting way of looking at life. Always moving forward. Always seeking. Well, you said it. Psycho-cybernetics. You made that reference. And Kaizen. the Japanese concept. Always improving, always moving forward, always seeking to better ourselves.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. So it's to me, it's always been a matter of interest. And by the way, I'm gonna call myself out right now. I've been meaning to get a I owe one of our mastermind members a sincere, abject, and here public apology. I owe Ace Arman a signed copy of the book. So y'all check me. You'll hold me accountable. You're gonna get your book, Ace. All right. Any final thoughts?
I'll share something about Ford.
Yeah.
Great topic today. I love the concept that everything's possible, not impossible. Anyway, and there's a movie called Ford versus Ferrari. And Henry Ford II wants to buy out Ferrari and be dominant on that racing scene over in Europe. But Ferrari was just destitute. I mean, about flat ass broke, you know. And so Ford sends Lee Iacocca over there to try to negotiate a deal, and they interact a little bit, and then pretty soon Ferrari tells him to go pound sand, you know. So it pisses old Henry Ford II off, and he's bound and determined now he's going to beat him. So they go to developing the GT 500, right? And long story short, it's a really good movie, and it's somewhat true. But anyway, they worked, and Henry Ford II would not accept anything but winning the Le Mans, right? So, and they did it 3 years in a row. And and back to the V8 engine, you know, that's by Henry Ford insisting that be developed. It turned into a V12 and a V16, like in a lot of industrial applications. They'll take two, like Detroit will take two 8-cylinder diesel motors and bolt them together and have a 16-cylinder, a V16. Puts out about 2,500 horsepower. So look at what Henry Ford's desire to have the V8 evolved into massive engines that put out huge amounts of horsepower. So just because of his, you know, unwillingness to accept the word impossible, the whole world benefited from it. So it's a pretty cool story, actually.
How about that? Is a really cool story. So Henry Ford came by that determination honestly. Yeah, you know, 2,500 horse. Man, that's a lot of. You know what? 2,500 horsepower. That might even be able to haul me around.
We use them in the oil field all the time.
Oh yeah, well, there you go.
Actually, it's just to run a pump. I mean, but the pump puts out 10,000 psi, pounds of pressure.
Woo! Yes, sirree. And all because Henry Ford said, "I want it, and I'll have it. Go back to work."
Exactly. So,
how about that? Look at there. Well, thank you, Ace. And on that note, I think we can probably close it out. All things are always impossible until they are not. I love that. Absolutely love that. Wait. We can't leave. We can't leave yet. Y'all are not yet dismissed. We have not received the benediction. Reverend Mosley, what's happening, sir? How you doing, Edward?
What's going on, man? I'll tell you, you know, I'm like you. I'm a big Star Trek person, and I loved it. I grew up with it, and what it basically teaches me is impossible is nothing. You know, I've seen that advertisement Nike did, I think it was Muhammad Ali. Impossible is nothing. And if you think about this whole world, it was impossible. Everything that we know and do and take for granted is impossible. I mean, you go back to the internet, you know, I was told this, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told that we were growing up, we had, 3 or 4 channels, and the TV sounded off at 12 o'clock. And you had, the Star Spangled Banner every night. I don't know if any of you guys remember this or not.
Yeah. And then the test pattern from midnight till about 6 a.m.
Yeah. And, at that time, you didn't have Netflix. You didn't have, all the different, TBS and all that sort of thing. You didn't have any of that because all that was impossible. Cable TV was not even around. But, the thing that really, really, kind of ministers to me about this whole situation is that you remember that little dial you used to try to go back and forth with, it's called a UHF or whatever the case may be.
VHF and UHF. Oh,
yeah, it was just a bunch of snow, right?
Yep.
Well, guess what? I was told, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told that is the early internet.
Huh.
I don't, like I said, somebody correct me or whatever, but
that's interesting.
I was told that was the early internet. We just didn't know what we had our hands on.
We didn't know what we were looking at.
No, we had no clue. And that's why you could go back and forth and change the way your TV looked and everything because of that, that power. So, when you think about what's going on and you look at all the things you're trying to accomplish, you have no limitations and all you have to do is believe and keep acting on it, and it's going to work.
That's it.
I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Edward. I did not know that. I mean, you do a little homework, find out what's going on. But I'm sure there's a lot of things going on that we don't know about or weren't told. What was that from Shakespeare? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. But no, it's true. It's true. Things are always impossible until they're not. This might be the theme. This might be one of those recurring thoughts for today. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Well, now it's time. It is time. I'm off for my latest mission. I have received my orders, and it's time to clear space dock and hit the road, so to speak. Unless there's a final thought that someone would like to share with us, a final thought putting a hole in the pocket of your mind, we're going to call it a day. And thank you all so much for spending a few moments with us. Remember, once again, 8 o'clock British time this evening, Books for Britain with our good friend Mandy Anderson. And
we're reading John's book now, Glenn.
Hey, integrity is everything.
We hadn't done it. So, integrity is everything. First 3 chapters.
Love it. All right, my friends, make it a fabulous boldly go, and make a fabulous day. Live long and prosper, my friends. Bye for now.